World War I and II took so many lives and was incredibly influential throughout history, and we could be seeing a third world war coming sooner than we thought, and could be more deadly than the first two. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 5 real ways World War III might end the world. In at number 5, we have Russia versus Ukraine. Russia has gathered over 130,000 troops near the Ukraine border that could result in the largest military conflict on European soil in decades. Russia is preparing for war, moving more equipment, medical units, and artillery to the front lines. Russia has long resisted Ukraine's move towards European institutions and NATO in particular. Its core demand is to guarantee Ukraine will not join NATO, a defense alliance of 30 countries. Ukraine shares a border with both the EU and Russia, but as a former Soviet republic, it has a deep social and cultural tie with Russia. Russia states that it has no plans to attack Ukraine, but NATO's Secretary General warns the risk of conflict is very real and could happen in the coming weeks. US President Joe Biden chimed in, calling all US citizens to leave Ukraine immediately. Biden's top military officer has warned the scale of the Russian forces would cause a significant number of casualties, and fighting in urban areas would be horrific, but Ukraine is not convinced of the risk, and its president has appealed to the West not to spread panic. This threat is being taken very seriously because Russia has invaded the Ukraine before in 2014, when over 14,000 lives were claimed when a battle broke out between Russia and Ukraine troops. Russia's deputy foreign minister recently compared the situation to the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, when the US and Soviet Union came close to a nuclear conflict and could affect the entire world. The US and other NATO allies have made it clear that they have no plans to send combat troops to the Ukraine, but are offering them support. The Pentagon has put over 8,000 combat-ready troops on alert and is deploying 3,000 extra soldiers. Poland has offered an array of surveillance drones, mortar bombs, and portable air defense systems. The UK, Denmark, Canada, and the Czech Republic have also offered security assistance. The Ukraine and others are doing everything they can to keep the peace and prepare for battle if Russia decides to attack, but if an all-out war breaks out, it would badly impact the US and European economies. Although today I did just see that Putin took some troops back. I don't know if that's true. I think it's all a ploy. I think he's lying. In at number 4, we have water and food shortages. The world's population is around 8 billion today, and it's set to grow to at least 10 billion by 2050 if current trends are maintained. That's 2 billion more mouths to feed and drinking water. Even though we have made a lot more technological improvements and management strategies, there is still concern about the demand and supply due to the amount of people on this planet. If things continue the way they have been, the water and food shortages are inevitable, and this could cause an all-out war. We have seen it before because food scarcity was one of the major triggers for the French Revolution. Many compounding issues from the environment, climate change, farming issues, water industries, poor resource management, and simply the supply and demand for such a large population may cause the perfect storm of supply shortages, with the constant rise in the world's population. If these predictions are correct, then our world would cause civil unrest, political issues, and struggle for control for basic necessities, and could ultimately cause a global war that we have never seen before. World starvation is already a drastic problem for many countries around the world. It's estimated that 820 million people in 2018 did not have enough to eat, and this number will continue to increase. The increase of climate change will cause more major natural disasters like droughts, forest fires, and rising sea levels. These problems will cause major issues with the production of food, farming, and agriculture. In the last few years, we have seen food prices increase, and this will cause major issues for the economy, and in turn less and less people will have access to food. All these issues will cause a worldwide disaster and could cause an all-out war, because we have never had to experience anything of this magnitude. In at number 3, we have Trump. Everyone in the world pretty much knows about Donald Trump. He is one of the most controversial people that had become a leader, which is terrifying. But anyways, he may be a main cause of a new world war. Trump was the president of the United States from 2017 to 2021, when Joe Biden won the most recent election. While he was in power, he was either loved or hated. Even today, even though he's not directly in power, he's still in the spotlight and is very prominent in the political world. When he lost the election to Biden, he claimed that there was electoral fraud and attempted to overturn the results by pressuring the government officials, mounting scores and unsuccessful legal challenges, and obstructing the presidential transition. Trump is the only federal office holder in American history to have been impeached twice. After he pressured Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden in 2019, the House of Representatives impeached him for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. No matter what issues he has or had, he continues continues to have loyal supporters, and in 2021, Trump urged his supporters to march to the Capitol, which resulted in an attack and caused death during the attack of the Capitol, which made national headlines. Trump proves again and again that he's very influential on many, and his action proves he has sinister ideas and can manipulate people to do whatever he needs them to do. Not only does Trump influence the US, but the world, places like Syria where he ordered a missile strike, China, accusing them of taking advantage of the US and making friends with Kim Jong-un, only after threatening them with a nuclear war like the world had never seen. Trump has allies all over the world and knows many powerful people, and this could cause huge issues throughout the world because if he wants things to go a certain way, he will do anything to make those things happen. During his presidency, research showed an increase in hate crimes, and he continuously urges and praised attacks against protesters or reporters. In at number 2, we have natural disasters. We have seen over the past decades an increase in natural disasters, and no matter what we as humans try to do to prevent such effects, we are no match for Mother Nature, and natural disasters are a huge risk to our safety and civilization. Due to the increase of technology, the death tolls have decreased significantly over the years, but we are still no match for these deadly disasters. There are still so many issues caused by disasters like damages in the economy, deaths, and overall damages to our entire planet. 3 of the costliest disasters were in 2017, with Hurricane Harvey, Maria, and Irma costing over $200 billion. We're also seeing an issue with these storms occurring in places they don't normally happen, like this past year in Texas, when they got a huge snowstorm that they are not equipped for. So it resulted in mass amount of damage because they have never had to experience a disaster like this. Their cars, houses, pipes, wildlife, and power lines aren't built for that kind of weather, so it caused mass destruction. Texas was under a winter storm warning for the first time in history. Texas is not the only one to have experienced these weather issues. Many others around the world have, and we're not prepared for it. Changes in climate conditions, especially the warming of global temperatures, increases the likelihood of weather-related natural disasters. Hotter temperatures increase the risks of drought, as well as increase the intensity of storms and wetter monsoons. And as we all know, we have only one planet, and if these issues continue and the increase in the severity of these disasters will destroy our planet completely. These disasters cause mass amounts of structural damages to buildings, mass power outages, no access to food and water, which will be a main reason for hysteria around the world. And lastly, coming in at number 1, we have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the most dangerous weapons in the world. One can destroy an entire city, potentially killing millions and jeopardizing the natural environment and lives of future generations through its long-term catastrophic effects. A nuclear attack is the use of a device that produces a nuclear explosion. A nuclear explosion is caused by an uncontrolled chain reaction that splits atomic nuclei to produce an intense wave of light, heat, air pressure, and radiation, followed by the release of radioactive particles. For ground blasts, specifically those radioactive particles are drawn up into mushroom clouds with dust and debris, producing fallout that can expose people at great distance to dangerous radiation. The doomsday clock is a symbol that represents the likelihood of a man-made global catastrophe, and since the presidency of Donald Trump began in 2017, the doomsday clock is the closest it's ever been to an all-out nuclear war. In early 2019, more than 90% of the world's 13,000 nuclear weapons were owned by Russia and the United States, and then in June 2020, North Korea has said that a nuclear attack is one of the only options left to fight their opponents. The most well-known situation including nuclear warfare was the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. The United States detonated 2 nuclear weapons over the 2 Japanese cities, killing over 200,000 people, and this remains the only use of nuclear weapons in armed conflict to date. Not only did these nuclear weapons used cause mass destruction during the attack, but still to this day, this attack caused long-term effects due to the radiation exposure, including increased cancer rates in survivors and people in surrounding areas. Even to this day, the city of Hiroshima and Nagasaki still have active radiation, which truly shows how dangerous these nuclear weapons can be, and how much destruction they cause. Predictions say that if a full-scale nuclear war were to happen, it could eventually bring about the extinction of an entire human race. Well, there we have it. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'll see you in the next one.